Hallo zusammen, freut mich, dass ihr zu meinem neuesten Video reingeschaltet habt. Mein Name ist Marcel und ihr seid auf meinem Kanal RGB Retro Gaming. Heute mit einem kleinen Special. Ich habe ein Interview für euch vorbereitet, das ich mit einem sehr guten Freund von mir geführt habe, Jason aus Amerika. Er ist genau wie ich ein Gamer durch und durch. Da er ein bisschen älter ist als ich, hat er das Thema auch länger verfolgt. Und deswegen habe ich mir gedacht, ich mache ein kleines Video mit ihm, wo ich ihn mal frage, wie hat er das alles erlebt. Das Video wird auf Englisch stattfinden, ist auch für mich das erste Mal. Ich hoffe, es gefällt euch und deswegen würde ich sagen, starten wir das Interview. Now I just want to introduce my friend Jay from America. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me at this interview.
Oh, thanks, buddy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's really cool that we can come together to make this interview, and we will talk about video gaming, about the early days of video gaming back to the 70s, 80s, and a little bit of the 90s. And that comes to my first question. What was your first experience with video games, and at which age?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for doing this in English, because we had to do it in my German. People might as well just click on another link right now instead of watching this.
It's hard for me too. It's hard for me too.
So I appreciate you. I think it's a very brave thing that you're doing.
It's the first time.
Yeah, and you're in, and I'm sure you'll do well. If not, you can blame me, because I was his teacher for a time.
Yes, yeah.
So you asked what was my first experience as
at which age?
As a video game player, as a young lad.
Yeah.
Seeing those lights go on, hearing those sounds. I have to say I was really captivated by a racing game inside an arcade, and I think that came first. I might be off on the timing, but I remember going to a movie theater, and there was a racing game, and it had the lights, it had the sounds, and there was a steering wheel mounted on it, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And if they wanted all my money that I had at home under my pillow, they can have it. Here, take it. Yeah. I'll send it to you in the mail. Do whatever. Just let me play. And around the same time, I played Pong.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah. Pong was a very simple game. But just the idea that you could interact with the television, that you could do something, and it works on the TV screen, that was amazing. That blows your mind. You think that TV is only passive. It does, you watch. But for you to act and then see the TV do something in response, at the time, that just blew us all away.
Wow.
And that stupid little game that you can master in 5 minutes, you spend a half an hour just because, hey, I have the power to operate this TV screen. I'm making TV.
Amazing. So, would you describe yourself as a gamer?
Yeah, I think I do have to describe myself as a gamer. As I was growing up, I wouldn't have said that oh no, I'm a football player, I'm a tennis player, I'm an athlete. But the truth is, I've spent far more time in my life playing video games than I ever did playing basketball or tennis. Those things that I practiced for hours and hours and hours. When I want to pass the time, it's always video games I come back to. Now that being said, the term gamer in English describes a fanaticism that I'm not quite sure I reached to that high level. Those people we call gamers in America, they're serious. They study the games. They check out every combination of moves they might use on Mario. What's that game with Mario and they fight each other?
Smash Brothers, you mean?
Yeah, Super Smash Brothers, or back in the old days, Mortal Kombat.
Yes, I remember.
I don't know if I ever reached that high level of dedication, because those guys are good and there's an art to it. So I'm hesitant to put myself in that same category, but I think that's where I belong.
Okay. So, what was the evolution of the video gaming from the 70s to the 90s, in your opinion?
Oh yeah, it was a revolution.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe it. It changed everything.
Yeah.
Video games in the beginning were something that society looked at as, well, that's kind of cute, but someone shouldn't spend much time with it, to something that everyone did and everyone has in their home. Yeah, so the first games, kids mostly played them. Adults didn't play them. Girls didn't play them.
Didn't?
Yeah, did not. At first, girls did not. Later on, when the Atari came out, the Atari 2600 came out, and there was asteroids and Space Invaders and combat, that was mostly a boys' sport. And then that changed a little bit with Mix Pac-Man, and changed a lot later on with the Nintendo and Super Mario World. Those games really brought women and girls into gaming, but then, like today, not so much as guys.
Okay. You talked a little bit about the society, so how did society view video gaming during that time?
At first somewhat negatively. If you spent a lot of time playing video games, that was a bad thing. If I liked a girl at school and wanted to go out on dates with her and have a relationship with her, that would not be the first thing I'd tell her about.
That you're playing.
That I play video games. I would first find a way to be accepted as a person first, and then later say, oh, by the way, I spend an hour a day on my Atari.
On your Atari,
otherwise, women really looked at it as a negative thing. But that changed over time as more and more girls began to have fun playing video games. I think the spirit, the competition of the games turned girls off a little bit.
Okay.
But as time went on, that was less and less. And adults in the beginning looked at it negatively, really looked at it negatively. And then as these young gamers became adults, everything gained acceptance.
And what was your favorite game console? I say about all the time.
Of all time. And wow, so we've talked about this before. And my gut instinct is to say whatever's newest right now is what I'm having. I'm having a whole lot of fun with the PS4. It's tough for me to turn it off. I've done VR at your house and loved it. Loved it.
So amazing.
Amazing. It's what I always hoped video gaming would be.
Remember, we're playing Ace Combat 7 and have problems with our stomach.
I felt a little bit sick. And when we played the VR mission for Star Wars Battlefront, I really felt like I was in an X-Wing.
Yeah.
And that was, I totally geeked out on the whole thing. But when we say all time, I have to think about which one impacted me the most.
Yes.
And just made me a video gamer through and through. And I would have to say it's not a console, but the computer, Commodore 64, had so many good complex games that I thought to myself, I don't want to be without this for the rest of my life. I want to have this as a part of what I do.
Okay.
Because things like Space Invaders, you hit a button as fast as you can. It's neat, it's fun. I did it for many hours. But the Commodore 64 showed me that there was an intellectual aspect to gaming, that it can present you with puzzles that you have to figure out, that you can simulate combat in a submarine, for example. And you have to think about things on a whole different level, and it's not just a matter of how fast you can hit the buttons. It's a matter of how sharp your mind is.
Yeah. You know that I'm a big Sega fan. So please tell me about your time with the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, the Sega Genesis, I got it for an embarrassingly cheap amount of money.
Oh, okay.
I got the Sega CD and
Model 1.
And the Sega Genesis at the same time. And something I haven't told you before is also a separate Sega Genesis console. And I think I paid less than $30.
Really?
For all of it. The person who had it just didn't want it and wanted to get rid of it fast. But
you bought it used?
But yes, I bought it used. And they wanted someone to have it that would enjoy it. So they gave me both, and I obviously couldn't use the Sega Genesis alone because I had the Sega CD combined with the Sega Genesis.
Yes.
For your European viewers, the Master System.
No, that's the Mega Drive.
Mega Drive.
Mega Drive.
Yeah, the Mega Drive. So I had the Sega CD and the Sega Genesis as one unit. Then I had a separate one, and I gave it to a kid for Christmas. And then I bought some games fairly cheap, and I was blown away that I've only spent $40 and I've got 3 or 4 really good games and an awesome system.
Yeah. Tell me about PGA Tours.
Yeah, PGA Tour golf. I spent hours and hours and hours playing PGA golf. Like, I had a triple bogey on this hole. I know I can get a birdie. I know it.
Yeah.
And then for the CD, Sega CD, Joe Montana Football.
Yes.
That was fantastic. First of all, the perspective was different than the football games that had come out on Nintendo and maybe even Sega as well. Usually the perspective for the football is from the side, and Joe Montana Football, you had the perspective more from the quarterback, and I love that. And then you call a timeout and you think, what do I do, what do I do? There's an option to ask Joe Montana. And for example, if it's if you're winning the game and there's only a short time left on the clock, you'd say, ask Joe, what do I do? And Joe would come on and say, well, you just need to take care of the ball, so keep the ball on the ground, stay in bounds, and get first downs.
He gives you advice.
He gives you advice, and relevant advice.
Okay.
Advice that you can use.
Yeah, the Sega CD was so amazing. You called it Sega CD in the States. In Europe it's called Mega CD. Well, on this system we has much more about differences. Because of the name, the Sega Genesis in the USA, it was the Mega Drive in Europe. And the Master System you first told me, it was my first console I have ever played with.
The Master System?
Yes.
And did you and your friends mostly play Sega during this time, mid to early 90s?
Well, I can remember I was the only kid with Sega. All the other kids have the NES and the Super Nintendo. Later when I have the Mega Drive, I'm only a Sega fanboy, but I only was by myself for that.
But whenever you talk to someone who has it,
yes.
We all loved it.
Oh yes, yes, of course.
And one game, Mortal Kombat, if memory serves me correctly, was much better on the Sega than it was on the NES.
A friend of mine told me the same about the game Aladdin. Aladdin you have on the Sega Mega Drive and you have it on the Super Nintendo, but it was better on the Mega Drive.
And we would call it, in America, we'd call it Aladdin.
Aladdin,
Aladdin.
Aladdin.
But it was better on the Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember anyone ever saying a game was better on the Super Nintendo than it is on the Sega. Sega had a great product. It's too bad software developers didn't support it.
They did a lot of mistakes, Sega. So that in the early 2000s, the Dreamcast was the last console they bring out.
That's the last console they developed. That was too bad because the Dreamcast also was really
it was amazing. The Dreamcast was amazing, but the big rival of the Dreamcast in these days was the PlayStation 2. And the PlayStation 2 is the most popular or most successful game console ever since today.
I didn't know that.
Ever since today, and that is a big rival.
Up till today,
Up till today,
and if the Dreamcast could have came out even 6 months earlier, maybe a year earlier, it would have had better support.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So my next question, Jay, is: did you have any long breaks where you were not playing video games or were not able to play them?
Yeah, once. To use a metaphor, once I, as the fish, had the hook in my mouth, I was caught, and there weren't many breaks. As I think about it, the only time I can remember that I had a long break was when I joined the Army.
In the Army?
Yeah, I was 19, and we had to. We had to stay in the same place for 3 months, and I don't think I didn't go anywhere during that time, and I don't think I played any video games at all. Our drill sergeant snuck us away to have a beer, which he got in a lot of trouble for, but that was really an austere time. Where there was no video games. But other than that, I've been playing pretty much since 1979 on. I've been playing video games.
Wow.
Not every day, but most of them. Most days.
And what are your favorite games of all the time?
Oh boy, you almost have to go from system to system.
Yes, that's true.
I would say on the Atari, the one that I look back and think about the most was one of the first ones out. It was called Combat. You had the choice. You could have tanks fight each other, or you could have planes fight each other. But Asteroids and Space Invaders and Pac-Man are right there with it. For the Commodore 64, I played a game called Wishbringer, which was just a text adventure.
Okay.
You just saw the words, and wow, boy, did I have a lot of fun with that. And there was a helicopter simulation game called Gunship, and I had a lot of fun with that. There's a baseball game. I don't recall the name of it anymore. For the Nintendo, Zelda and Mario. Wow, those were such good games for the time. For the Super Nintendo, Zelda again, Super Mario World
A
again.
Link to the Past.
Yeah, Donkey Kong. Those games. Star Fox. Do you remember Star Fox?
Yeah, I remember Star Fox, but in Europe we called it Star Wing.
Star Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
it's the same game with another name.
with another name.
Like Genesis and Mega Drive.
Yeah, it's weird that they do that.
Yeah, pretty weird.
Yeah, so Star Fox was great. Then for the PlayStation, I fell in love with the usuals like Tomb Raider, Resident Evil.
Of course.
Then there's another game that's fairly well known but isn't as popular as I think it should have been. Blood Omen, The Legacy of Kain.
Yeah.
Those games were fantastic. They went on to the PlayStation 2. And speaking of the PlayStation 2, spent a lot of time with Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Love that game. Navy SEALs, had a great time with that. For the Xbox 360, up till now, even I still play it on the PS4. Skyrim by far is my favorite game.
Of all the time?
Of all time. I've been playing it since 2011. That's been my primary game that I play.
Like World of Warcraft. For me, I played it over 10 years.
Yeah. And it's that kind of immersive game. For me, who grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, it's like, hey, I'm in a Dungeons and Dragons world, but I don't have to wait for everyone else. I don't have to roll dice. I can just go out and fight, and I still love Skyrim.
And when you ask me what's my favorite game of all the time, it's Xenogears for the PlayStation 1.
Wow.
Xenogears. And
what
second
about
place is Final Fantasy 7, but Xenogears it's so amazing. The story is so deep, and it blows you away, blows up your mind when you play that. And it only was released in the States. I had to import it to Germany, and when I played it, I don't understand everything of it.
You didn't understand everything?
I didn't understand everything of it, but what I understand was overwhelming. And I played about 100 hours. Don't know. Yeah.
Wow.
And since now I played it about 5 times through. And now a German translation is there. You can download it from the internet. You have to burn it to make your own copy, and then you are able to play it in German. And a few months ago I did it, and it was so amazing to play this game in my language, in my German language.
Right.
And not only in English. Yeah, and for me, until now, it's the best game ever made.
Wow. What was it about the story that captivated you?
Well, the story is so complicated. I think I have to make our own video of that to
okay. Yeah.
It's about gears, big machines where you go inside. Like, it's an anime style, the Japanese anime style. They always they are very keen to go with gears and mechatronics and stuff like that. You know what I mean. And every second enemy you have every time of gears and stuff like that. But that's okay. But in this
they always
game,
have something about that. Yeah.
In this game, it's so amazing.
Oh, all right, man.
So Jay, you were an history teacher in the USA, and now you work as an English teacher here in Germany. Is there any anecdote you can tell us about video gaming and teaching a class?
Yeah, I use computer technology sometimes.
Okay.
When I was teaching, I had a electronic whiteboard that I provided instruction with, and my principal really wanted to bring technology into the classroom, to bring the school and even the whole school district into the 21st century.
Okay.
And after I looked for a while, I found a software program called Study Island. It's really an educational support system, and it allowed me to give instruction to the kids and then allow them to practice what I had taught them in class on the computer. And they would read passages, they would watch movies, they would answer questions, and when they did well with their studies, Study Island would reward them with computer games.
Really?
Really good computer games. Sometimes they were on subject, sometimes the computer games had to do with, say, mathematical skills that they were practicing. Okay. But not always. Sometimes it could just be just a fun little game that had nothing to do with education.
How long can they play?
Not that long. Not that long. If you studied for a half an hour and you did well for that half an hour, it might let you play for 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
It provided them a good balance, because after a while when you're studying, you need a break.
That's right.
That's right. And so the computer games provided them the breaks that they really need. We start to lose our attention after 20 minutes or so, which means 10 minutes ago for this video people started to tune out. But Study Island was an effective tool, and I'd like to see software developers really focus on education and helping students learn better through gaming.
Well, for me this sounds very interesting, and I think we can talk about this stuff all night long.
Yeah, two old gamers like us can really bore everyone to death talking about the old days.
Yes we can. But I think we have to wrap it out here. And thank you so much for being here, Jade, for having this interview with me. It was a pleasure for me.
Oh, thank you. It was also a pleasure for me.
Ja, und ich hoffe, euch hat das alles jetzt auch gefallen. Das erste Mal für mich war es jetzt auch, das Ganze in Englisch zu halten, war eine Herausforderung. Aber es hat mir wirklich sehr viel Spaß gemacht, und ich möchte mich auch nochmal bei Jay bedanken, der hier war, das Interview mit mir gemacht hat. Es hat mir sehr viel Spaß gemacht. Vielen herzlichen Dank nochmal.
Well, Dankeschön, mein Freund. Es war für mich ein Vergnügen. Vielen Dank.